this is not giving me. This part's not critical. This is just showing what I have on my computer, which is all over the website anyways. Move forward without that. All right, Sean Wadsworth, Chair of the Planning Board, calling the Albany Planning Board October 10th meeting to order at 6:38. Also the secretary at the same time. So that gets tedious. So I just want to give the board members here a minute to read through your preliminary consultation, and then Mr. Dardarian will just hear what you're describing. And, oh yes, let's see. So it's Glenn Dardarian and, sorry, Sue Dardarian.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Good pronunciation, by the
I
way.
know.
Oh yeah?
People have a hard time with that.
What's the background?
Dardarian.
I mean,
Army?
Dardarian.
the dairy.
Yeah, I worked on that earlier. Agreement.
How would it be in Armenian accent? Just like that?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's actually a Turkish name.
Yeah.
Because when the Turks took over Armenia, they changed their names to Turkish names so they didn't kill them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was quite a story. I can tell you some stories that I heard, but
Off video.
sad.
That's
That's what they are, you know.
I'm sure.
But life goes on.
All right. Read through, Peter?
Excuse me.
Sorry, you read through?
I was just getting up to date.
Yep.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, so Mr. Dardarian or Mrs. Here you're.
All right, well, my name's Glenn Dardarian. I live at 2206 at H Route 16, Albany. I live right in front of the White Ledge Campground. So 2 years ago, my wife and I bought the property, moved down there from Conway. We lived in Conway. We had a big old farmhouse up there. too big for the two of us. I got my knees replaced, and then I got cancer, and blah blah blah. So we figured it would be simpler in a smaller venue for us. Then my son lost his housing, so he's got a girl and 3 children. So we let them move into the white. There's 2 buildings on the property: a white house, 4-bedroom house, and what used to be a store converted to a semi-apartment. Somebody lived in it before, whatever. It was empty for the last 8 years, but somebody had been living in it. So, anyways, they moved into the White House. We converted the brown house, cleaned it up, painted, did what we had to do to move into it, so my wife and I could just live in that. And we've been in there for a little over a year now. And now we're told, and I didn't know, it was just another building that we could use, but now we're told that only 1 residential unit per 2 acres of property in New Hampshire. So when I started doing some research, we found a couple of different ways to go and to see if we can get approved. And one of them is what I wrote on there, right? Which is probably not the right way to go. But then we were looking at the hardship variance, because the land itself is kind of landlocked. It's all owned by the state or by the federal government. I don't know exactly who owns it.
National Forest.
National Forest or federal government, right? But the campground, is that National Forest or state?
National.
National. So at first I'm like, well, maybe we can contact them, but they're not gonna ever give up any property. So, reading up, I don't know. I mean, I had my real estate license for a little bit, but after I got cancer, I let that go. So I don't know a lot, but I see a lot of different options that might be available to us. Even as far as subdividing, I think that area can be subdivided if we had to go that route, which I don't want to go that route. But we're kind of asking you guys what way, if any, that we have an option to.
Because we just share the well. It's 2 septics. We only share the
Yeah,
well.
There's 2 subjects.
Yes.
The building itself, as I pointed out on that, there's 2 separate septic systems. Both of them are identical. There's 1,000-gallon tanks on each one. Both of them have their own leaching field. The only thing that we share is the water. So the electric's separate, everything's separate except for the water.
So technically they are connected, right? With the water line.
Well, no. Yeah, it's an umbilical cord. But
First thing that comes to my mind is that the water is not even a topic here. You don't need to have a well in New Hampshire by law.
Right.
So you can take that right off the table. How many service meters do you have?
there's one on each building.
Everything's separate. Propane separate.
Yeah, that's not an issue. Well's not an issue. So the house has
Well,
it says 4 bedrooms.
the house has 4 bedrooms.
Each one of those bedrooms has a closet in the door.
No.
How many have a closet in the door?
No.
3.
3 of them have
So
closets.
it's a 3-bedroom house.
Yeah.
Legally. So you have 3 bedrooms, not a 2, not a 4. So that helps you. So what about an ADU? This was existing,
Well,
right?
that's what
Yeah.
originally, I think did I write that ADU in
Yeah.
that? I think I wrote that, so I didn't know.
Well, there's 2 kinds of ADUs. The kind of ADU that the town has, that the state adopted as mandatory use ADUs, which means you can get it as long as you meet the septic requirement, is the type that's attached to the house where one door connects the 2. Then you have a detached ADU, which you need approval on. I'm not sure the details on that, so. You got it, so maybe I'll defer to you on that. Maybe you can go to a detached ADU.
Well, the detached ADU, the state says it's okay if it's okay with the municipality.
Right, that's what I thought, yeah.
And my only thing that I wanted to point out was the building's been there since the '70s, so it's
Right.
already there. I'm not looking to add, I'm not looking to change any footprint or anything, so.
You've done no changes within the last 18 months, so there's no intent to come in fraud.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can see is just 2 meters, which you can convert it to having 1 meter and do, or the fire chief. See, the law with the fire chief is the structure, if you have an accessory dwelling, which is what this will be, accessory ADU, the chief, well, the town requires it to be on 1 meter, not 2. So if there's a fire and they shut 1, they know, you
All
know.
right, well,
So I don't know the rule on that, but I mean, maybe as long as the chief says it's all right to have the 2 meters.
because the brown building has 200 amp service, and the white building has 100 amp service. So I don't know that they can do that on 1 meter. I don't know how they do that.
You might just wanna know about it, cause that's been coming up a lot with the solar panels.
Yeah, no,
When they
yeah.
shut the house and they don't know what's on.
Yeah.
So I think as long as the chief knows there's 2 panels, 2 meters, you might be all right.
Yeah. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, you had stuff on the
No.
detached?
Well, no, my first question is, this is, I feel like I guess this is gonna be mine, but, so why are you here? Like, what brought you here?
Well,
And
I'll tell you what brought us here was, ironically enough, was we went to the bank to take an equity loan out on the property. Because we wanted to do some more updates on it, re-roof it and stuff like that. And apparently, I don't know if it was the town assessor that brought it up a month and a half ago, or if it was this bank, all of a sudden it came up. So the bank hired what do they call
Appraisal.
the appraiser, right? It's supposed to be a drive-by appraisal. Well, we went from having the loan approved, just waiting for the drive-by appraisal, to loans denied, town says, don't deal with us, we're
Illegal.
we're illegal, don't do anything with it, with that property. So that's what brought it to this. And when I contacted the property, there was 2 issues. One was, which we already took care of, was the pad with the portable garage on top of it.
Who told you to come to the planning board meeting?
I-
The bank didn't want you to come to the.
No, I invited Mr. Dardarian.
Oh, okay.
And he
I
reached
didn't know
out,
that was you. I
he
thought-
reached out after reaching to
Right.
Kelly, town administrator,
Right,
about, we have this issue trying to get a loan and we need we want to figure out what our options are, what we can do and get clarification.
and
So
she told, and the town administrator, not Kathy,
Kelly.
Kelly, she told me that the town of Albany doesn't allow detached ADUs. And I'm like, well, who can I talk to? And that's where she gave me your name, I get your name.
Yep.
And email, and then I did that, you sent me the paperwork, we filled it out, and we're here today.
So the bank, someone must have told the bank.
Yeah, the appraiser wrote a letter saying that the town, he must have come to the town and to look up the property or something,
Do you have that one?
So you're looking for some guidance from the town, or some approval from the town to be able to do financing and whatnot in the future on your property.
I don't even care about financing,
We don't care
Okay.
I just want,
No,
I just want to
I'm
be,
just
I don't
curious.
want to be, without a house, I'm not gonna, my kid has a baby in the house, he's gonna obviously stay there, I'm not gonna kick him out, so I'm the one that's gonna be, And-
so you are no longer mortgage pending, you're not financing.
We own the
that?
house.
No, right, you don't know, so,
Okay.
I mean, I personally don't think town always in the business of telling people they can't live in the home.
Yeah.
So but I'm just trying to get some background
Yeah.
on why you're here. I
So-
sometimes ask that
Yeah.
question more than
I think I have
maybe I
a
should.
letter.
I don't know. I just always like to
That's a
go.
good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So it's preliminary consultation.
Yeah.
And just to get information to the Dodarians about what the options are in Albany.
Your septic system passed with flying colors, they dug 1 hole and said it's okay.
So there's the copy of.
Letter we
the
got from the
letter
bank.
Yeah, I'll take that bottom sheet.
Nothing's credit.
That's the one from the bank that was sent to us.
And so, yeah, our
Which is
ordinances, do say a 2 acre minimum, this is grandfathered as far as the 2 acre minimum, because it's only 0.8 acres, but
Right.
and 2 acre minimum, 1 living unit, and then the option is accessory dwelling unit for a second living unit, right? You can't on a single residential property put 5 houses and call it okay, because the ordinances don't say that. So that's part of why we're here. What are the
That's
options?
correct.
Accessory dwelling unit,
I-
unattached accessory, what
But
is
it doesn't sound like
detached?
he's asking to do that. It sounds like
No.
that's already existing. At least 18 months, so I don't see.
Well, it got converted, right? But that doesn't mean it's legal. And so then the questions are, what would be the process to make it legal? What does
I
the,
think the process would have had to been visited. I'm not a lawyer, but I think the process would have had to been visited whenever it was done.
at the time, right?
Yeah, now it's 18 months or more later. It's
So we didn't change anything.
there's no.
Was it that way before you bought it?
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, well,
And so really go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
As far as I know, the process goes like this. We have the town ordinances that say what's allowed, what's not. And this isn't, having 2 residences on one property isn't allowed unless they're attached and they meet the ADU specifications. To do something that's not allowed, you then go to the zoning board of adjustment, ultimately, which is a separate town board that can allow for variances following some criteria of does this variance make sense in this circumstance, giving the ordinances, giving the person's petition, and a handful of other factors, right? And so that's where you can get things that don't fit the ordinance's cookie cutter variations. So that's what I was just going to say. As far as I understand, that's the process for getting something that
I think that's
Doesn't fit
that's
the
the process,
ordinance.
but it doesn't apply here. I mean, that's like saying all these small hotels have to go to that have more than one house on have to go back to it's existing for more than 18 months. I think it's pretty much nothing we can do. And what the bank can do is say you can't add on without clearing it up, but you can't stop you from using it the way you bought it at this point, in my opinion, but I'm not a lawyer, like I said.
Like I said, I don't even care about the bank at this point. I just
Yeah.
want to live comfortably.
And they were probably right in what they said. If you want to do that, you might have to bring it to code for them to lend you money.
Yeah.
I mean, like
Banks are
Sunnybrook
banks.
Cottages, you got another one down by me. They all have residences on that were existing and they're still using them.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely throughout the town. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like situations
Yeah.
that you guys are in. I mean, throughout this town, there's a lot, and it's getting worse. And I mean, there's more. Obviously, there's more of it with the housing problem we have right now in the valley. And so, I mean, to me, well, I don't think we're setting any precedent one way or the other. I mean, this thing has been there. I've driven by. I've noticed the Superman in the telephone booth for a long time.
Like I say,
I know,
put a smile up in
it does. My son asks me about it all the time. So I say he never moves, so he's obviously pretty crime free, right?
Well, we figured if we get him to move, that would probably cause an accident. So we figured,
Do we want in the town of Albany people having multiple residents on lots and to do, obviously now you gotta go through the process, but I think the town itself needs to do a little work on our own regulations going forward. I think it's something maybe we can work on, because we've seen just in the last 12 months, a lot of cases brought that dealt with dwellings on lots that I think are something that, I think it's something that people in the regulatory world are going to have to deal with. I mean, I go through this all the time with people. Everybody wants preservation, and I know you sit on a board that's preservation, Sean, and so you hear that. Everybody wants preservation, but what preservation does is it limits development property and people places people can live. So then with preservation, you need to change regulation. So in this sense, I think this is another one that I just think it's not really the planning board thing. I think we've been doing it. And I wouldn't want to bring this couple through the gamut here. And I think it's been pre-existing, and I think we should just let them live their lives and not have to worry about this. Plenty of things to worry about in the world, and this isn't one of them. So.
I mean, there's no new permit application here to review or anything, it's all existing.
No, I know, it's just an informative thing.
So, yeah, I agree with you, there's nothing to examine, it's all existing.
But I do think I think Town of Albany could
do inspection.
I think we could do a better job in this ADU of what we want to be as a town. I think we could spend a little time and get it clearer, and attached.
Address existing conditions.
I have a
like
barn.
that.
I'm not that I want my mother-in-law living above my barn, trust me, but
I'm not.
I love my mother-in-law. I'm not picking on my mother-in-law, but it shouldn't have to be attached to be able. If my mother-in-law wanted to live there, it shouldn't have to be attached, right? So there's some things we could do, but
That would all be going forward.
yeah, it'd be going forward, and so it's up to the regulators to keep up with the changing times.
I work in Conway, and they do every couple of years. They go around, check. They do it going forward though. You can't take away something.
Yeah.
It's been there for 18 months or more. It's pretty hard to.
I mean, my only thing is that, the building's been there since the 70s. So, if we don't live in it, it's not gonna use as a business. So it's just gonna end up sitting there and rotting away, or used as a storage shed. And it's a shame to have a building that has full capacity to, my wife and I that live there, it's only the two of us. It's not like we have a party. I just tried it. I was 65. I just want to relax, so.
Yeah.
Anyways. Can I get that letter back?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't need a copy of this, do you?
I don't know. That sounds fair.
Did you want to see that?
What is the letter?
From the
The letter
bank.
from the bank.
Oh, thank you.
And like I said, that, it's not that we needed the money. We were just thinking about doing some upgrades on the property, but I'm not gonna do anything right now.
Brian, you have any?
I feel similar to what Kurt and Peter expressed, that, it's an existing structure. It doesn't feel like it's a planning board issue. And maybe we do have to address some of our ordinances moving forward, especially I feel like for the instances like they have, because, like Peter said too, we have numerous cases of this exact scenario, and no one else is in here, saying, hey, we're fearful of getting kicked out of our house. So
Yeah.
I don't feel like this is anything for a planning board at this point.
Okay. I, for the record, disagree. I think the planning board is exactly where you should be right now, getting the preliminary consultation, because the planning board is the land use board, and this is a land use question. So I think it's 100% appropriate for these property owners to be coming to the planning board. I think the planning board should be having the preliminary consultation and considering what our ordinances say relative to the property owner land use request or where they want to go. And then I think the planning board has an obligation to the town to follow the town's ordinances properly. And the way that it's supposed to work is this is not a commercial application. If it were, we would be doing site plan review. But if in a consultation something doesn't fit the ordinances, the planning board should be recommending to the property owners to go to the ZBA for a variance. The fact that someone prior to these property owners just happened to start doing something that is not permitted, doesn't mean that it's then permitted. That is not what the ordinances say anywhere, nor do the state statutes say that. So I'm being very clear that I would recommend you and every other property owner in the town of Albany that is outside of the ordinances should go to the ZBA for a variance to get it cleared up so you're not in a gray limbo area. That's my take on it. But
I think it described enforcement to a T, but not planning, but planning.
it's not planning. It's
I mean, I don't
well,
see any-
Well,
it's
there's
not
regulatory and then
Yeah,
there's
that's
enforcement.
right.
But
So this
planning
is the
is-
regulatory process. Is questions come to the planning board, and if planning board can't address them through the planning board's regulations, then they get sent to ZBA for quasi judicial variance.
Well, I think we can address this straight on. You cannot add another structure. But it's planning. Planning is planning something for the future, and it's enforcement, right? Yes.
Right. We are not enforcement.
No, we're not
Yes.
enforcement, and I'm not
That's the board,
sure.
that's the board of selectmen.
Yeah, that's the board's election.
Right.
They need to see it and prove that it was fraud, willful intent to commit fraud, prove that they did it intentionally to commit fraud. I don't see that happening, but again, it's not, in my opinion, it's not to do with planning.
Except the preliminary consultation. It's a land use question for.
No,
the
I
land use-
understand that. I
But
get
is that
that.
required by our town?
Pardon?
Is preliminary, is that required?
Oh, preliminary consultation is required by the state. It's like this, there's like the statutes say planning board should have preliminary consultations for land use questions. Yes.
Or for land use planning or for questions?
Yeah.
Questions.
and-
Related
it's a
to
consult.
planning. Yeah.
It's a consult related to land use, yeah. This is the place for land use. Planning board is the place for land use. We are the land use regulatory body. So we are not voting. It's a preliminary consultation. We're not taking a vote. You're hearing the discussion. There's some different points of view, and I suppose you can do with it what you will. I would recommend you go to the ZBA. Some of the board members are saying,
For them to go to the ZBA, I mean, we would have to,
what's that?
we would have to recommend that as a board to go to the ZBA. They wouldn't just go to the ZBA. What are they gonna go to the ZBA for? I mean, then there are dozens of houses in the town that are pre-existing and go to the ZBA.
For a variance to the ordinances to have two residences on a single property.
But they're not planning it, it already exists.
Well, it's an unpermitted use, right? So there's a house that was permitted and a business that was permitted at some point. And now the business got converted to a house, but it never got permitted. So you go to the ZBA to get,
I guess I would say they could only really have to go to the ZBA if the selectmen choose that this is an issue.
or if they so choose themselves, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But if the selectmen choose that this is.
You
an
could
issue,
willfully
then-
or forcefully go to the ZBA.
But
Willfully or forcibly?
Forcefully, yeah,
Forcefully,
willfully, or
yeah.
being, you can be told to go, or you can go on your own choice. I don't know. You can choose to go to the ZBA, so you can apply to the ZBA, say, I want to have a thing for a variance.
Right.
Or you cannot, and see what happens. I am not predicting anything.
yeah, I mean, it would have to take, so the next step to me, would just being part of this town, or half the board of selectmen would have to take issue for what's going on. And if they feel it's necessary to, because they're the enforcement body, we're the regulatory body, so
Right.
really at the end of the day, the selectmen, even if we say one thing, the selectmen are the ones that enforce it. So if they choose not to enforce it, the planning board really doesn't have a whole lot of say, right? So, to some extent, on older stuff like this, but, my gut, and this is just by being a resident of town my whole life, I can't imagine that the select board is gonna tell anybody they can't live in their home. So, I guess you guys can take it for what is, can go down that road. I wouldn't lay in bed worrying about it. I know you probably have a little bit, but I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah.
And if you need to go to the zoning board, because there's some things that need to be cleaned up. I mean, our zoning board is pretty
I mean-
pretty good people, so I think they're going to hear your case, and they're
I guess-
they're residents, and I wouldn't worry about that either. So
So I guess my question is, what was my question? So I guess my question is that, is somebody gonna come down, 3 months from now and say, well, we're living on that property illegally? Or is it just, if we decide to go to the zoning board, I mean,
Well,
That's unknown. None of us can answer that. for
I mean,
sure.
cause I come to the town hall
and
and
my friend looked at it years ago,
Yeah.
somebody living. Now I'm hearing it was a business, so I'm not sure which it was,
what, the property?
or if it was
That was
both,
before Hatoke was there.
yeah. Because
That
when
was a
my,
big campground.
I went there
Yeah.
with a
That's
plumber
one of
friend
those.
of mine, and there was somebody living in there at that time.
Right,
So there's no doubt it was a residence.
yeah,
And
it
now
was the owner's,
you say
the owner's kids were living in there, so.
Yeah, this was
Years ago.
12, 15 years ago,
Yeah,
and my
that
plumber
one.
looked at it because he asked me to go look at it with it. And there was somebody in there because we had a not negative agreement. So it's been a residence for a long time. Well, maybe not, maybe it was both, I don't know. I don't know what the plan is, we're not looking at any planning here.
I know, I mean, my only thing is, I come to the town hall to do
Yeah.
some registrations and stuff like that, and then they're like, you're living illegal, you can't do that, you're not allowed to have an ADU, we've had hundreds of people come in and apply for a detached ADU, and we didn't let them, if we let you, we're gonna, and I'm like, whoa, hold on,
Yeah.
I don't even know what you're talking about, so, and, which obviously brought us here, but. All right, so we'll just have to make, in our own conscience what to do and leave it like that until
Yeah, and I think as Curtis said,
push comes to shove.
yeah, unlike the zoning board are residents and have open ear as well, right? So the zoning board does not mean that it's going to be a negative outcome for you. It doesn't mean it's going to be positive either. You just don't know, but it's residents and it's people
the
that
zoning board actually has more flexibility than the planning board.
They do.
they have all the flexibility.
Yeah.
They have all the flexibility.
And at the end of the day, and I'm not speaking with the zoning board, but Town of Albany, this is the Town of Albany, right? I always like to say that, like, we're not Conway, we're not Madison, like, Town of Albany is not in the business of telling people they can't live in their house. You've been living there for a long time and you bought it though. So, but I don't even know if you need to do that, but that's not really my call. So, that would be, if you wanted to ask the selectmen that, you could ask them that. If you didn't, the selectmen need, and that the selectmen would have to take issue with something,
Right.
and we have great selectmen, and not
zoning
not that means one way or the other, but I mean, they're all good people. We're a small town. I mean,
They don't have to take issue. You could just go to the zoning board if you so choose. You don't have to be told to go to the zoning board.
I would just say it, I spent 6 years on the zoning board, I believe, before here. I can't remember, it's been so long. There is a criteria sheet on the zoning board, and I don't have it memorized, but I don't know if there's a place for it for this situation.
Well, I
I
think
mean, you gotta be planning something there too, that doesn't fit normal permits. Ordinance or variance violation going forward is what the zoning board declares. This doesn't, I don't know if this applies to the zoning board either, this is just something existing. It's already there. Cause when I was on the zoning board, we had nothing like this, we had planned, somebody planned to put a structure 20 feet from the line instead of 25 and make it a whatever, and they had to decide if it was a negative impact on neighbors, and there's a whole list. But I'm not sure, in my opinion, I'm not sure this applies there either, but the
So-
selectmen can tell you.
Yeah, so just basically what I'm hearing is that we don't have to lose sleep. We're not gonna get kicked out of the house. I mean, if there's gonna ever be something, they're gonna let us know and give us plenty of time to go to the planning board or go to the zoning board and do
For
whatever
some
we have to
reason,
do.
yes, if the select board chose to send like cease and desist, then you can appeal to the zoning board and you
Yeah,
have
we've
that whole
been there 2
process.
years, we've had the property for 2 years and nobody's had a concern about what we've been doing until we went to the bank and all of a sudden it's a concern, so.
So,
I can't,
Yeah, I would assume,
Yeah.
and this is just a total assumption, within the town, when I kind of think about the town and this similar situations, it's not gonna, I would think that it's not gonna be, it's an issue that if the town of Albany wants to raise, it's gonna have to raise it on a wide scale. So I think it's, to me, as a planning board member, it's something that we need to regulate it better in the future. Like, you just can't look back on it, on things that have been happening for 15 years. So I think if we wanna clean up our business, then we need to get it more regulated or clearer regulations for the future. So, I mean, towns, I deal with towns all the time, Glenn, like, you never know.
Oh, I
It's a
know.
lot of individuals,
I
and
know.
sometimes individuals drive certain personal agendas, and they're not supposed to, or they're whatever,
Right.
so I can't tell you that.
Right.
But I would not lay in bed worrying about it,
Well,
so,
we
that's
were,
my personal
You're right.
opinion,
We even went out looking for houses,
We
and they
were.
were too high.
so.
and then we started looking for houses, we're like, what are we gonna do? And we started looking at houses,
Yeah.
trying to find a house,
$500
but,
million.
yeah,
Yeah, it's,
under 500,000, it's like,
And I
are you
would-
kidding me?
I would just add, right, there may be a resale value increase for you to get it squared
I'm
away.
not looking to sell it, I'm just looking.
Oh, no, not today, not tomorrow, but,
No, I
you
know,
know,
But
but
don't you-
you're right, you're right. If
I
it's-
mean,
right, you got denied the loan because of the regulations,
By
future
one-
sale, they make it
how many
denied.
banks did you go to?
Just one.
Yeah, there's what other
It was
banks
probably
that
a
like
good
give you
answer,
one,
but
and
we really did.
that happens all the time.
We look at it
Happened
as
to me.
things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
But we do have a
Glad we
question.
didn't get the.
Do you know if they're gonna widen the street on both sides?
No idea.
It's-
No one knows the answer to
It's
that.
they're still figuring that out
Because
themselves.
They
the
can't do it.
collectors,
They're not gonna-
that woman up there, she got a notice that they are taking 25.
Oh, there's notices going in. Oh, wow.
She doesn't know this?
I didn't know.
Wow.
That's
I didn't know.
Our
either.
realtor said. One he was a
And
That
realtor.
was dumb, that was, well,
You know that one, that little,
Which property?
it's a collective, she sells antiques.
Oh.
It's a little log cabin
Yeah,
way
yeah,
down.
yeah.
Yeah, because Lindsay, he's still friends with all the realtors.
but they're taking that side of the road, if they take it, they're gonna take it
Yeah.
on the other side of us.
It's on the market, that's why she knew.
You know what, we get years to worry about that.
Right, that would be pretty
I've
close
had the statements on that.
Steve.
Listen, I thank you guys for your time
for a holiday.
and all the
Thank you
information.
for coming in.
So the information was very beneficial to us.
Yeah.
But if you do go to a different
At least
bank,
we know we can sleep.
and you do file out a permit, it'll probably end up at the ZBA, the permit for approval.
Right.
So if I did do that, what do? You just apply for a permit?
This what'll happen, you'll apply for a permit, and it'll come, well, it won't come to me, it'll come to whoever, because I'm retiring, and then they'll deny it for reasons of whatever, write down some of the reasons, and then you take that to the ZBA, and they can override, and then you go, and then use that same
For
permit.
every permit that I look, well, what, the permit like I filled out for that garage, right? So it's, if, it acts like you're building it. So there's nothing there permittable for a building that's already standing.
That's the way.
Right,
That's
exactly,
what I don't
there's
know.
nothing there, yeah. You need to get denied to go to ZBA, you need to go with something that was denied.
Yeah,
I don't think you can go to, because every time when I was on it, people would want to go to ZBA, and the town clerk at the time was, I can't think of it, wasn't happy. She said, well, you need a permit that's denied, and they go to me, I deny it, and then they go to ZBA.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure if it applies.
Well,
Go to ZBA, I don't have a
I think
permit.
that we get the answers that we need and know that, you know,
The
It's
kids will
just-
be happy, they're
if we're
parents.
gonna, you know, if we decide to do that, then, you know, but we don't have to do that as an emergency. And we were thinking that, you know, maybe a month from now, you know, they give us a month to get out of the house, you know what I mean? But anyways, thank you guys
Yeah,
very
thank
much. I
you.
appreciate it,
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you for bearing with us for being a little late and getting the discussion going.
Hey, listen, I wish I wasn't the only people here, you know?
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
it's
it's
the
been a
entertainment
while.
tonight, otherwise.
So you're retired, why don't you, apply for some board and
Huh?
see your time? You know, we like people from all walks of life, don't we? Yeah. Somebody, I was at a meeting, like 21 years ago, here for my wife's business. And they, after the meeting, they said, why don't you apply? And there's no opening, so I applied to the ZBA. And I've been into it ever since.
Well, that might be a thought.
We need citizens to help
That
us,
may be a
right?
thought.
Yes.
We've been on
Yes.
boards
Now you
before,
gotta think
so.
about that.
Either or both.
I
Thank
still
you
work.
guys. Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay,
Yeah.
take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll just go back up with the minutes, September 12th. Everyone review the minutes from September?
Yeah.
Had a chance to?
Yeah.
Questions or blah blahs? Hearing none,
Make a motion to approve.
thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Yeah, budget. I don't know, the screen is not working. I'm sorry for that. I was kind of planning on the screen to run through the budget. But basically not planning to change anything, and I can just read through it real quick unless anyone else wants to propose a change to the planning board budget.
I have a question. Do we have a line for advertisement? What would that be under?
I think we do. Yes, we do. Advertisement for 350, of which we spent none.
But isn't that more that's more just for advertising?
Could be anything
It could be anything. No, it's just
as the board sees fit.
something that news.
Yeah. So advertising for new members.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. I
Yeah.
mean, I proposed it a few times. What do you get to lose?
Yeah.
Some
People might-
money.
you
Some
know.
money.
Well, I mean, you don't think that's well spent? You know,
It's hard to get people.
it is hard to get people. It doesn't hurt.
How much longer do you have?
0 time.
This is it.
my last
Oh, this is
This
it?
is
meeting.
Peter's last meeting.
Oh,
And I feel bad because we've always had trouble,
Yeah.
doing this. And the ZBA is pretty good now, I think. There was a time when we couldn't get members there. But I've seen ads from other towns.
yeah, makes sense.
It's not, now accepting applications for Albany Planning Board, we apply this like something. There's a lot of people read the paper and might consider it if they see the ad. Do you think that's crazy? You guys?
No,
No. We get
I think it's good consideration. I mean, I think all three boards, actually, well, no.
you could incorporate it.
Planning board.
Yeah.
ZBA needs people and Conservation Commission people as well.
I mean, I think we could reach out, just see if we can find anybody kind of old fashioned way, but if we couldn't, then we could spend some money.
Yeah. What's the cost for that ad?
Well, let's give it this month to next month, the old fashioned way, and then maybe start
Yeah,
posting, because we
yeah.
are really
Because
short.
I have
Like,
been, I
we're
think
just
we all
barely
have
making
been.
the quorum.
Yeah.
We're trying to get people in. That's why I wanted to use that example. There's some citizens in town, a lot of different types of people. You got professional people, construction people. I think it's good to have a good diverse board.
Yes.
And it doesn't hurt to put an ad in. We've talked about it before, we just never did it.
I like it.
Just my one idea.
You don't want to fly up from Florida to go to
No.
Good zoom in.
No Zoom.
Sounds great. So let's see. This is really still not working. All right, I'll just read through it quickly. It's only like 8 lines. We have an attendance line item that was 3,000. That's that. Secretary salary, which was 3,000. I think both of those, the actual expenditures were under each of those. So they covered past years and they covered this year's. Social Security Medicare, which is the takeout for the secretary, to $250. I think that covers what is happening. Technical advisor, 500. We didn't use it all this year. We haven't had anything needing technical advisor. Advertisement, $350. Manuals and resource material, this is basically printings, $100 if we needed to go to Staples to get some bulk something printed or buy whatever. Operating expenses, a generic $800, and I think that's kind of generic. And travel, we have nothing in the travel budget. We have 300 for conferences. We have spent none. And oh no, there is travel. There's $100 for travel under other.
That would get us to like Tamworth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, exactly. For a grand total of 8,400, that was the 2022 budget. I propose the same unless anyone has changes.
I mean, are we gonna do? I mean, the last few years it's been all this COVID stuff. So I mean, are we gonna do any type of conference or any type of stuff like that? I mean, like, I don't know.
Conference upgrade.
Yeah, or no, it's just like, are we gonna do any more educational stuff? I know there's online stuff and stuff in Concord, but that would be the only thing. But
Eliminating or adding?
Adding. I just is that on your agenda for anybody new or whatnot?
Yes. I think I hear what you're saying. So yes, conferences. So under travel has two subcomponents: conferences 300, and travel to the conferences 100.
I know Ryan wants to go to a conference. He was
Yeah.
talking about that.
Good.
And like you said, now that COVID's lifted, you probably see a lot more than that.
Yeah. So you increase
Well,
conference.
I think if you're gonna get new people, especially if we can get some younger people that haven't, I know that
Has any municipal
that have had
experience?
no planning board experience. I
Yeah.
mean, before I sat on this planning board, I'd probably been to 100 planning board meetings
Yeah.
on the other side of the table, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of knew how it worked. I'm learning every meeting I learn, but so I'm not
Yeah.
saying I'm. But I think if we're going to get some young people, we might be able to give them some. So you might want to just
I like
increase that to like $500 or
Yeah.
something. I mean, the total line item budget is very insignificant, but
Yeah.
it might be something.
To help incentivize, to have
Maybe
training.
to help incentivize some training for some younger people, because it would sure be nice to get some younger people involved in anything.
I like it.
And then you can add, will train in the ad.
Yeah.
I think the median age of the town volunteers is like 55, 60. So it would be nice for the younger people to get involved a little bit. Maybe
Yeah.
someday.
It wouldn't hurt to write a letter to Kennett or some of the schools and, have it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's kids in political science
18-year-olds
or
and
whatnot,
all
or
that
the
can apply.
endless.
Sure.
I mean, there's endless people being activists in one way or the other. Maybe they can get involved in town politics.
Well, how old they have to be to serve on the planning board? 18?
Actually, I don't know
That's a good question.
That's a good question. I would presume 18.
that. I would say that. If you can go to war, you probably sit on the planning board.
So it wouldn't hurt to, apply with the schools.
Could be a few
Like you
seniors.
said,
Yeah, it'd
We
be
can
nice
train
to just try to get some younger people within the
some money
town.
in for training.
All right, so a proposed increase from 300 to 500, 600, double it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd double it.
And then travel was 100. That's
I
not
would put
covering
that to
it.
500, to be honest with you, because if you're gonna do it, I mean,
Yeah, 49
it's
cents
$6
a mile, whatever.
a
it is.
gallon or $5 a gallon. I mean, if you're gonna actually ask people to go to conferences and whatnot, you might have to pay them something.
Okay. And this is the one. Okay. Any other discussion on travel conferences budget? There is a line item. We used to have money in there for legal, 2,000, and last year we didn't have any, and we just basically decided that if we needed legal, we'd ask the select board's permission to allocate us money for legal.
Yeah, see, I think you should put the 2,000 back in.
I think we should have our own legal
Just
line
in
item
case,
so
you
that
never
if
know.
there's a dispute and the planning board really feels legal is necessary, we can exercise ability.
I mean, not that I'm one to run to legal for
To
a
the
whole
lawyers.
lot, but if there is a clarification we need from council, then we need to be able to do that. We don't need to go to the selectmen to ask that.
Agree.
Definitely.
So it had previously been 2,000, just as, you know, and that gets eaten up quick with lawyers, but at least gives you a start.
It's 8.5 hours.
That's a lot for,
8.5 hours of time from a lawyer. So
That's what it
let's start
was.
with that.
Start with that, yeah.
Because, I mean, I can't imagine. Maybe we won't use a dime. Hopefully, we don't.
agree. That was always the discussion in the past. You have it, if you need it, you know, don't.
There was
In
a
my time, we've never used it, but
There was a time where every one of these line items got knocked to zero.
Yeah.
And a lot of it made sense. Some of it was a little over
okay, so that's it. We got attendance is the same, secretary salary is same, technical advisor $500 the same, advertising $350 same, manuals and resource materials $100 the same, operating expenses $800 the same, and we're proposing an increase for conferences and travel. Conferences from 300 to 600, and travel from 100 to 500, and legal from 0 to 2,000. Yes. Any other proposals or changes or amendments? Okay. That would give a total of
I mean, the most important thing about this is we don't spend it, it just goes back into the general fund
Yeah,
and it's
that's
used to
right.
decrease
Right,
taxes, so it's not like it's
I would
we're
never,
spending money.
even if you're
We're
not
just
spending
giving
it for
ourselves
years,
flexibility
The opportunity to spend.
if we had to.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
can't-
so the way I understand it, if we wanted to change that, we'd actually have to get permission, so we don't want to,
Yeah.
even if you put something down to $1, but leave the columns there.
All right, we have to
Even
go.
if you don't use them, it's lower.
so that gives the 2022 budget was 8,400, and proposed for 23 is 11,500. So
I'll make a motion to approve the budget.
Awesome.
as presented.
I'll second.
fantastic. All those in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Thank you.
What did we actually use? I forgot what you said.
The total?
Yeah.
11,500, I think.
No, but what did we use from last year?
Oh, how much did we
were way
spend?
under it, right?
Oh, wait, we didn't spend anything except for the secretary costs. We didn't use technical advisor, we didn't advertise, there was no printings, there was no travel, there was no conferences, there was no legal. So it's just the secretary cost is the only expenditure. Which will be about the same, hopefully, as long as nothing goes bonkers with planning board. Okay. That's really well. And our last big item of business is Peter. Thank you for all of the years. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
But before you do that, we have to, Peter, we have to get what requires a building permit off the agenda. So
I've been looking at that for 10 minutes.
we need to vote that off the agenda before you resign. I'll make a motion to remove that from the
I
agenda
second it.
in Peter's honor to get it out of that. Because it's been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Sean, do you have a problem with that?
I'm the one that keeps declining, or not. Just I don't know. No, I don't. I don't have a problem with it at all. I do agree that we should go through the ordinances and
Yeah,
make
I
the
think we
changes where
should.
they need changes. And that was kind of one of the ones that we identified as like, that really does need a better definition.
It does.
So.
From the
But
time
it
that
can come off
think
the
it needs to
agenda.
come off.
It can come off the
I'll put
agenda.
it into perspective, when we started, when that was first discussed, tent buildings weren't even an issue, these little tent buildings. I mean, I've seen this evolve to the point where we weren't able to write something because every 3 or 4 years there's different products out.
It evolves.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I've looked at it a lot of times, the definition we have isn't that bad.
So,
Wait, from a building point of view, yeah, I don't care, and my retired brother-in-law is the #1 building inspector in Florida, in a big city, I won't say which one. I have 2 cousins that are building inspector, I have an uncle that's and I've talked to all of them about it, and they'll say, Pete, you're gonna be 50% wrong or right, no matter what they do, in every town, you're gonna have to make these decisions, is this a shed or is it a well house?
So not,
Is it a chicken coop or is it a workshop? There's a certain amount of things that are just always gonna be up to the builder's factor. He's gonna be right half the time, and half the time he might not be. Somebody will disagree.
Right.
So it's a hard subject, and you just need a good team to solve it. You need, a good team to solve them as they come up, and they don't come up that often. They really don't. I mean, how many times? They really don't.
can we take it off the agenda, Sean?
Yes. It's all.
What I was taught by a retired code enforcement officer for many years is if the best people that have the best grip on what needs a building permit are the assessors. And they use one rule of thumb. If they can pick it up and take it with you when you move, they really shouldn't need a permit. So that's how we always did. Something is designed and manufactured to be something designed to be manufactured, attempts to be moved, and obviously it's not a permanent structure by definition. And if these sheds are always the question, can you take them with you and you look at it, can 4 people pick it up and take it? That's how, the people that evaluate homes kind of use as a rule of thumb. And you're not always right. It's tough. But this town, yeah, no problems really. Speak of.
You've been on this board a long time.
I have. I started on the zoning board with Gary Howard was on it at the time. And it was, I want to say her name was Diane or Deanne was the town clerk.
Yeah.
Is that the right name, Mike? Yeah. She was
Yeah.
when I started, yeah.
Yeah.
No, she was when I started on the ZBA, and then I came to this, but I always sat in on the meetings because I just enjoyed, being part of the town. And I've seen a lot of members come and go, and I think, in my opinion, the diversity is what makes it work the best.
Yes.
And having all the different people, and you've been the most devoted secretary and the best. And I'm not knocking other secretaries, but you live in this town and you're into it, and it really helps.
Yeah.
You're
Thank
into
you.
The meeting.
I appreciate that.
It's huge. We've had good ones, but you live right here and you have vested interest. And
Appreciate that.
I think everybody appreciates that.
Can't thank you enough for the years of service. So how many years?
I don't even know. I'd have to go. It's got to be over 10.
Over 10, yeah,
Yeah.
easily.
Yeah. I know the ZBA was quite a while too.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we regretfully accept your resignation.
I feel bad. I was planning on going a little longer, but the circumstances changed.
Encourage everyone to do the old-fashioned reach out to people about zoning board really doesn't. So Andy Davis was the chair of it, and there was kind of some people that were on the board. He's no longer the chair because he's in Tamworth now. Leah Valderas became chair for a year or so, and then she resigned about a year ago. There hasn't been anything going to the zoning board since she resigned, but right now there's no chair and there's only kind of not really 3 members. So it's pretty close to non-functional as well. So
We didn't see much action either. Every once in a while, they need you. So
that's the thing. You
never know.
Your wife is on it.
Yeah, you never know.
I don't think she's had a zone board meeting in 3 years.
Yeah.
No, there hasn't been. But if she wants to be chair, that'd be awesome. It's a chair in name until there's a meeting, right?
Yeah, how it goes with those meetings. There's a certain protocol. And I think it's hard to ask someone. It needs to almost be someone that's involved in town politics. Yeah, a little bit.
Well, no, it shouldn't. So the zoning board, you can't be
Well-
select board member, we as planning board members should not be on the zoning.
No, I understand that, but it has to be someone that's been a former member of a board if you're going to ask them to be the chair.
To understand,
Yes,
yes.
for the
processes.
process of just the protocol and.
Yes.
Even if we bring them in and train them, you still have to have some.
I mean, I deal
Yes.
with that with the school board. I mean, Tim Zorzi does a great job with the protocol in the school board.
Yeah.
I mean, we do a good job here. I mean, it's the select board, Kathy understands that,
Yeah.
so. You know, it's, so the zoning board with a board that doesn't meet very often, we're gonna have to just kind of figure that out. That's not, we're gonna have to figure that out, not me.
Selectmen really, but if you know anyone that might have the interest,
Okay,
the need is there.
all right, Peter, well, thank you, and I'll make a motion.
Yep.
To adjourn.
Second, meeting's adjourned at 6:38. Look at that. 7:38. 1 hour. 1 hour.
Enjoy Florida, Peter.
We off the air?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna miss this town.
well, we're
A
here.
lot. I'm gonna miss my job. It's crazy to say that, but I'm gonna miss.
We'll miss seeing
You know, when you work
I mean,
somewhere
we've
20